Hallo, leuk dat jullie kijken naar deze bijzondere vlog die ik mag maken voor de Amsterdam Art Gallery Weekend. Ik sta momenteel voor de Merchant House aan de grachten van Amsterdam. Een prachtige locatie. Ik neem jullie snel mee naar binnen voor de tentoonstelling. En let op voor de mensen. De galeriehouder spreekt Engels, dus ik zal deze vlog in het Engels doen. Maar kom, gaan we snel naar binnen. Hello, good afternoon.
Hello.
Hi, this is Marcia.
Yes, I'm Marcia Blatnitsky, the founding artistic director of the Merchant House.
Where we are
Welcome, yes, welcome to our gallery. The Merchant House, as you can see already, is a gallery art space which is situated on one of the main canals in Amsterdam, and we're using the Canal House as part of the sort of art initiative here. So the exhibitions are installed in such a way that we take advantage of the Canal House, and we also open the space to the general public.
Yeah. So you've divided it in 3 spaces. Tell me something about that.
Yeah, exactly. We are now in the front gallery. In this case, this exhibition begins with 3 artists of the exhibition. I think we could go through the space first, and then we can return and talk about the art.
Yeah?
Okay. So here, actually, we're using part of the space as for our publishing program. The Merchant House also publishes catalogs, and we are about to publish our first monograph about the artist Andrei Staf, who is in the show. And we're very happy to participate in the editions of the Amsterdam Art Weekend with the work of Andrei Staf. So this is our publishing area.
Okay.
And if we continue, we now find ourselves in the second space, which is normally the in-between space between the front house and the after house of the Canal House. And here we're showing 2 young artists of this show of 5. So we continue. And now we pass through the hospitality area where the show continues. And then we finally find ourselves in our historical room, which is the historical Canal House style camera, where the shows continues as well.
Okay. Beautiful. Now, let's talk about some of the works part of the exhibition.
The title of the exhibition is the indispensable experience of art. And so, just to say a few words about the title. So, indispensable is clear. I think, as we can see in the pandemic, we find our life really impoverished with the closing of the museums and theaters and galleries. Experience is an important word for this exhibition because it's a question of what's our perceptual experience of art. So I chose to look at it from the standpoint of abstract art and the use of color. Now, you might say why, and I think it's interesting because 2 things. There is an individual experience and social experience, and then there is a digital experience and physical experience.
So 4 experiences.
Yes.
Wow.
So now that we're filming here, so the question between physical and digital, I think it's very interesting.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at a couple of works and see how they might respond to these questions.
Okay.
We're standing in front of this work of the French artist Andrei Staf. Andrei Staf is his first presence in Amsterdam, although I hear there's one work in the Mondrian House. He was born in 1930, so he's 90 years old.
Oh, wow.
This work is from 2003.
Okay.
Andrei Staf has been placed in the category of what's called concrete art. And in some ways, sometimes the labels are a bit misleading because the concrete art is known really for its formal qualities. But in fact, Staf chooses to deconstruct those qualities completely. So instead of focusing on the artwork itself, he makes us see how the work actually affects us. Here we start with the painting, which is upside down. Then the painting begins to turn, and it completely becomes a circle. And it's actually balancing on an edge.
Yeah.
So from the 90s, Stamfel is only using one color, yellow. He uses this yellow, which is called in French yellow Senegal. It's about yellow, for example, of course would have very different meanings for different people, but for him it's about the sunshine, and it's about the organic, like the juicy lemon kind of yellow. So in some sense his references are not on the inside of the artist and focused on the artwork, but on what the artwork can sort of become a subject and an object in itself. The artwork is actually acting out in this situation. So it's to me it's very interesting to look at to see how after so many years of working he arrives at the moment in time where he actually breaks the rules of the movement that he is associated with.
Okay, wow. Nice. It's nice that there's a sort of also energy in it. It's just the movement.
It's an amazing performative work.
Yeah.
So some of the other works of Stamfel in the show are actually from this year.
Okay, wow.
So he's 90 years old
And
and
he's
working
still,
very actively. So we see the whole spectrum, almost the entire 20th century of art.
Wow.
And so when he describes these works, he often uses the words, he refers to earth and desire, delirium, and those things which are not exactly the language of concrete art. And so now if we go to, for example, another word, these same words could equally apply to the work of Pino Pinelli, for example. Pinelli is another artist of the older generation. He was born in 1938. He's Italian. And he's often grouped with the analytical painting, which is also based on the formal qualities and based on focusing on the artwork itself. But here we come to an interesting point of digital versus real, because these works are supposed to be touched, actually by hand. So, but what's happening is that before you come to touch it, and I think they actually invite you to test out what the surface is doing, something is happening in your imagination. You see the work, you think about it, and your mind is actually putting it in a virtual reality of our mind before the body comes and actually touches, and you see what you discover. So I'm, I guess, wondering how that translates to a digital presentation of the work. Okay, maybe there is virtual reality.
Yeah, of course, but still you don't have the...
But we don't have the body. We don't have the body to touch it. So in that sense, you see the tumbling of formal constraints, and you see the physical questioning or deconstructing of these formal constraints that we often associate these works with when we see them in pictures or in representation. Okay. Wow. I think now we must look at one young artist in the show.
Yeah.
We have a very interesting video work here, but I think it would be nice if to visit and see it in the gallery. But so I prefer to perhaps focus on this work for the purpose of this tour. This is of Elsa Tomkauja. She's in her 30s, so she entered the art scene after 2000, so way later than the other artists, but she also uses colors, very important for her. So instead of, however, creating her own materials like Stamfel and Pinelli, she works with found materials. This is industrial foam, which she pounds by hand her special spectrum of colors to create this particular work. So the physical reality is that the artist actually makes the works physically, but it also just generates color, that it encloses us in that space of color.
It's incredibly bright. It's really, in this room, it speaks really, it's wow.
So maybe to conclude, so why color? I mean, we are in the age of extreme social engagement. There's a lot of activist art, so I was myself wondering what really color does and what abstract painting like this could do in this context. And I think we often associate, of course, color is an extremely important thing in terms of our health and pleasure. There's a lot of psychological research. But abstract painting is actually an area not just of creativity and of exploration of art, but it's a very interesting social area where we could come together and discuss what it does for us, and hopefully we can discuss it without wars and without conflict, and in fact where we could come together with different points of view and with different ideologies.
Yes. Wow, that's nice to think about it like that. And for the Amsterdam Art Gallery, you also have a special edition. You already told me a little bit about it. Can you tell me a little bit about the work?
I'm very happy. So the artist is Andrei Staf. These are his large works. Now, he is in the exhibition of color, but we see basically a black work. However, there's a lot of color behind the work. And in fact, there's a touch of red here, a touch of yellow there. So this is a build-up of all the colors that actually come through the black that absorbs it all. So that's just an interesting thing, and these works are handmade, they're paper. Again, this is a completely different material than anything else. And so we are making this. Andrei Staf has also done a lot of photography, which has not been shown much. So it's a pleasure to show one of his nature prints for the first time. As you can see, this is a wonderful tree, and I was very happy to hear that one of the people who works here at the Merchant House says that this is his favorite work in the exhibition, because the tree is about to embrace you.
Yeah. Oh wow! The arms, the
like
branches,
the arms
the
of a person.
Okay, wow.
So here we have something to touch, and here is something that was looking at you, ready to embrace you. And perhaps this is how we learn to be welcoming and embracing in the world.
And having that love for each other again, but learned by nature. Perfect, thanks. And how many of there are there?
25, the edition of 25.
That's important for the people at home.
Yes.
There's 25.
The edition of 25.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much for coming and for this tour. And I hope everybody would go out, support the art, and visit the gallery.
And until when are they able to come by?
In general, this show is going to continue through January.
Okay, so until January you can still come by and have a look at all these colorful artworks. Thanks for watching.